How Starbucks conquered the world. Have you ever wondered how a simple coffee shop transformed into a global empire, with its iconic green logo now visible in nearly every corner of the world? From its humble beginnings in Seattle to shaping how millions start their day, the story of Starbucks is full of surprising twists and bold moves. What's the secret behind their success, and how did they manage to turn coffee into a lifestyle? Our story starts in 1971 in the beautiful Pike Place Market in Seattle, which has streets made of cobblestones. People were drawn to this location when Starbucks first opened its doors. With the smell of freshly roasted coffee beans, unusual teas, and spices from all over the world, people who love coffee and want to take home the best beans quickly made this small store their safe haven. That's right, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker started Starbucks as a store that sold coffee beans and some equipment. Their goal was to provide the best coffee in the world, which was a simple but deep idea. But it wasn't until about 10 years later that the first signs of what we now know as Starbucks may have been seen. Howard Schultz, a young man from New York, walked into the first Starbucks shop in Seattle in 1981 by accident. He joined the company the next year because he was so taken with the rich, fragrant coffee. Then Schultz's life took a big turn when he went to Milan, Italy in 1983, and fell in love with the country's lively espresso culture. He was inspired by the sense of community in Italian cafes and wanted to bring that to the US by making Starbucks a third place between work and home, where people could meet, rest, and enjoy a great cup of coffee. At first, the owners of Starbucks didn't like this idea. They wanted to keep selling only high-quality coffee beans and equipment. Because of this, Schultz quit Starbucks in 1985 and opened his own chain of coffee shops called Il Giornale, which was an instant hit. Schultz had so much success with Il Giornale in 1987 that he jumped at the chance to buy Starbucks for $3.8 million. He then merged it with his own business and started the fast growth of the Starbucks brand. It's interesting that Bill Gates Sr. was so important to getting the money. There might not be a Starbucks today if he didn't believe in Schultz. Starbucks went from having 11 stores in 1987 to having over 38,000 stores around the world after the purchase. With Schultz's idea as a guide, Starbucks quickly grew beyond Seattle, first to Chicago and then to Vancouver. Soon after, it reached California, Washington, and New York. Starbucks opened its first store in Japan in 1996, which was followed by stores in Europe in 1998 and China in 1999. The green siren image on Starbucks cups became more and more recognizable over the next 20 years, greeting millions of customers every week around the world. Starbucks has been very successful because it is always looking for new ways to do things. This is often linked to the way the company treats its workers. The business has always tried to be different from what a coffee shop usually is. Starbucks has always changed to meet the needs and tastes of its customers. In 1995, it made the Frappuccino, a drink made of coffee, milk, and ice that has become a summer favorite. More recently, it created the Starbucks Rewards program, which has changed the way customers stay loyal. Starbucks Beanstalk program, which began in 1991 and is a big part of the company's culture, was one of the first of its kind on such a large scale. Starbucks let its workers, who were called partners, become shareholders without buying shares by giving them stock options. This project was meant to make workers care about the success of the company, which would make them feel like they owned it and be loyal to it. Schultz has always thought that happy workers are the most important part of any business because they will make the customer experience better, which will then benefit shareholders. After all this time, we can say that he was totally right. When you really think about it, how did a small cafe become a huge $90 billion business? The answer is in the above-mentioned small things that may not seem important at first but add up over time. Drawing a picture of Starbucks' growth from one store opening in 1971 to over 38,000 stores opening in 2024. One of Schultz's most poignant stories about customer and employee care is from the early 2000s. Sarah, a young Seattle Starbucks barista, was diagnosed with a dangerous illness. Sarah's health declined rapidly, and her medical expenditures rose. Schultz didn't hesitate when he heard Sarah's story. He covered her hospital fees and visited her several times to offer his support. Schultz's actions demonstrated he believed in Starbucks' purpose to care for people beyond business. Many staff and customers were moved by Sarah's story, which reinforced the sense that Starbucks was more than simply a coffee shop. It was a community where people looked out for each other. Schultz's 2004 Coffee and Farmer Equity (CAFE) practices program shows his commitment to assisting people, developing a worldwide community, and welcoming all. This program ensured the coffee was good and connected coffee farmers throughout the world with customers to improve their lives. Schultz has had coffee with other Starbucks customers several times. A Tokyo Starbucks visit sparked a memorable story. Schultz spotted an elderly group that always met for coffee and conversation in the morning. Schultz was inspired by their camaraderie and sat down to hear their experiences and share his. This event made him even more certain that Starbucks could bridge ethnic divides and create a welcoming, inclusive environment. He calls this the Starbucks experience. People often quote Charlie Munger, "Take a simple idea and take it seriously." Value of a stored card. Starbucks' stored card value is the money loaded onto cards. Starbucks mobile app accepts physical or digital cards. Starbucks' business approach relies more on this preserved value than you might believe. Starbucks cards are convenient and keep customers loyal. When clients can load money on their cards ahead of time, transactions are swift and convenient, encouraging repeat purchases. The Starbucks Rewards program and stored card value technique strengthen this loyalty. Starbucks cardholders receive stars. For purchases, these points are redeemable for free food and drinks. The method encourages users to maintain money on their cards and use them often. Starbucks earns financially from stored card value. Starbucks earns cash up front when customers load their cards. This fast cash flow can meet many business demands before the goods or services run out. Starbucks can expand faster without holding on to cash. They gain cash as they grow due to a negative working capital cycle. Sometimes loaded money is never redeemed, dubbed breakage. Starbucks profits from this unreturned value because it doesn't have to supply goods or services. Hidden signs. Starbucks' logo is a twin-tailed mermaid, a siren. It was inspired by a 1600s Norse picture. Sirens symbolize the sea's beauty and mystery, like the company's coffee beans from elsewhere. Starbucks has a great drink selection for everyone. Customers may customize Starbucks drinks, giving them over 87,000 variations. The world's largest Starbucks is Chicago's Starbucks Reserve Roastery. 5 stories and 35,000 square feet. In-house roasted coffee and creative cocktails make our flagship cafe a distinctive coffee experience. If you enjoyed this journey into how Starbucks conquered the world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more amazing stories and insights.